On this episode of Lapeef, Let's Talk.
I would walk away if it makes sense. So I'm not thinking about the now, I'm thinking about the future because sometimes maybe us giving up our job can actually bring in more income somehow. Okay. We're taking on the responsibility of the household, the kids, and that might give up some free time for our man to work more or bring up more businesses or anything of that nature. So, but I also think of generational wealth. So even though she might give up her job, she can still be making money at home. So I think of those both factors of cost of living is different for people. So to make it make sense, like 100K is enough to live off for a couple in Houston, depending on what you spend. But in New York, in Cali, depending on what you're trying to achieve, I don't think it'll make sense. But would I? Yes, I would if the numbers were adding up and I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck and I was living comfortably. I definitely would, honestly.
I was just asking, how do we reconcile that? Like, if we know divorces, the number one reason for divorces being filed is for finances, how do we reconcile a man being able to tell a woman, like, hey, I need you to sit back, step back, like fall back from your job? And I think the other variable that was thrown in was, even if she's earning more, how do we reconcile that?
I think it's just going to come down to what you want and in your priorities. For me personally, I think $100,000 is plenty of money for me to live happily with whoever I'm with. And if that happiness relies on me being the power structure in that relationship, then I think that that's a sacrifice you have to make. Now, largely, a lot of people tend to be more materialistic nowadays. And so that $200,000 that's going to disappear because she's going to have to quit her job, that's going to be more of a burden to people. But it really isn't. As long as you're living below your means and you're living responsibly and you're not just blowing your money on pointless stuff, and you're, like Anton says, as long as you're doing things with a purpose, then you're good to go. But when you get materialistic and you want the Birkin bags and the Benz trucks, that's when you need $300,000. But up until there, if your priority is your family, then that $200,000 is out of the window if that's what you need to do to keep your family together. I think that's how you reconcile it. How much do you want your family? How bad do you want this man to be the leader of your family? And what is his earning potential? Because just because he's making $100,000 now doesn't mean that's where he has to end. If that is where he ends, are you going to be okay with that? And I think that's the question that's out there. And I don't know if anybody really has an answer to it. It's just that men have been undermined in terms of their power because women are making just as much. And some women are deciding to do their own thing. And, you know, the results of that is more women than ever before are on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication. So it is what it is, you know. I just think that it just depends on your priorities. If you prioritize family, then that $200,000 is out of the window. If you prioritize material goods, then you'll probably want to keep it, and that might compromise the structure of your family. That is what it is, though. It depends on what kind of people you are.
I have a question, Trey, because you brought up something like that I didn't really. Well, I guess I've thought of it kind of, but as you were talking, I was like, I gotta ask. So let's say you're in this hypothetical relationship, marriage, and your woman's making $200K, you're making $100K. Would the driving force behind, like, would you literally, like, in that situation, tell her, you know what, I think you should quit because I know that women who make more money, you know, aren't as, I don't know, submissive or whatever? Like, what would that conversation look like for you?
Me personally, I do things based on, I'm kind of calculated, so I wouldn't end up in that situation. I'm not dating a woman that makes $200,000 and I make $100,000. I'm not dealing with it.
But hypothetically,
I'm a very particular person with the people I deal with, and if I'm going to go into a relationship, if I understand where it could lead, like, it's just like seeing anything that's problematic. If I see a girl that's doing too much, she going out, I look at her Instagram, she doing, I'm not going to deal with it. So if I see a woman that's a boss babe, she doing all this extra stuff, I'm not going to deal with it.
Right. You wouldn't, but you answered the question, you know, earlier. And I was just seeing, like, you specifically stated that, you know, if a woman makes more money, she's going to, you know, the power dynamic is based on money. Nope. I heard you say that earlier. So I'm saying, like, hypothetically, let's say someone's listening and they want some advice. How would you go about that conversation if your hypothetical situation that you would never be in, if it was a hypothetical situation that you were in, how would you go about that conversation?
See, like, and this is
you're
what I
in it.
always tell people, because everybody ain't gonna be like me. Like I said,
You don't know what you would do.
they can do whatever they want to do. If they like modern relationships where the man is a stay-at-home dad or whatever they want to do, that's cool. But me, I'm not doing it. Like, and if it was a hypothetical situation, as far as me trying to give somebody advice on that situation, I would tell him how good is his leader. I would ask him about his leadership skills. Where is that going to go? Why are you making that decision? Is it because you have children and you don't want them to be raised by the state? Because I see a lot of teachers teaching some crazy stuff to these kids nowadays. If that's your situation, then yeah, maybe you do want to prioritize the mental health of your children and the and making your children more balanced by having a woman at home. And if that's your situation, I'll understand it more. Now, if you're just doing it based on ego, I guess, and there's no real logic behind your decision, is based on emotion, I think the men that are leading families should make decisions based on logic, not emotion. So if it doesn't make sense according to the numbers, then no. But if you have children in the equation, and that's why I said it's nuanced, it just depends on very specific things.
I know about not wanting to answer a question that's hypothetical. So I can respect that.
I want to get the Q real quick.
Yeah.
We can move on. Q, should a woman walk away from her career or take on a lesser role once she becomes a wife?
Well, I fully agree with the poor man, Trey. Maybe because I'm a financial advisor. So I would walk away if it makes sense. So I'm not thinking about the now, I'm thinking about the future, because sometimes maybe us giving up our job can actually bring in more income somehow. Okay, we're taking on the responsibility of the household, the kids, and that might give up some free time for our man to work more or bring up more businesses or anything of that nature. So, but I also think of generational wealth. So even though she might give up her job, she can still be making money at home. So I think of those both factors of cost of living is different for people. So to make it make sense, like 100K is enough to live off for a couple in Houston, depending on what you spend. But in New York, in Cali, depending on what you're trying to achieve, I don't think it'll make sense. But would I? Yes, I would, if the numbers were adding up and I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck and I was living comfortably. I definitely would, honestly.
Okay. There you have it. You guys gave some great responses. I like that. If you guys just tuning in, welcome to Lapeef Let's Talk. Make sure you guys get them likes up. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Membership is open. We do have a couple of members that I've seen that join. So shout out to you guys and appreciate all the super chats that came through. Shabrel, I see you. JB, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate you.